And welcome to GMOs and genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is the manipulation or isolation of DNA sequences of specific genes, and that kind of ensures that we can produce desired traits or proteins. This will allow researchers to study specific sequences and their effects. It also means that really we can genetically engineer organisms, and we can do that because DNA is a universal code. So we can take genes from this jellyfish, which is green, and put them into mice, which are an entirely different species, and still have them be expressed. And you can see that there in their green eyes. Products of genetic engineering are called genetically modified organisms, and a GMO is any organism that contains DNA from another organism. Transformation is the process we use to add or remove genes, and so we can take genes out of one piece of DNA that you can see in the upper left in yellow, and we can put them into these red pieces, and then we can put them into particular cells or creatures. So some examples of common genetically modified organisms. Here we have the naked mole rats expressing that gene, that green protein. Corn is highly genetically modified, and so are strawberries, right? We also genetically modify cows to produce better milk, and tomatoes so that they don't get soft in the transport process. So some examples of plants that are GMOs are tomatoes that ripen, but they don't bruise, potatoes with more starch so that they're more disease resistant, squash that are resistant to viruses, strawberries that can produce antifreeze so that they don't freeze when the cold comes to their area, corn that tastes sweeter and stays sweeter longer. If you were to look at the foods that you eat today, I would imagine you would find corn in at least 3 places you weren't expecting it. Right? Most crops are actually modified to be disease resistant and stay fresh longer. In livestock, we can have genetically modified to carry, it can be genetically modified to carry favorable traits like lean meat or good bone structure. Livestock are fed genetically modified grain all of the time. Milk-producing animals can be modified to have additional nutrients in their milk, which can be especially helpful if those animals are then given to very poor regions so that we have better nutrition in those poorer regions. We generally use GMOs to give resistance to herbicides or pesticides, to add more nutrients to whatever the particular product we're trying to produce is, and increase disease resistance. We can also use them to create allergen-free foods so that we don't have anybody like this little boy who's allergic to peanuts and having an allergic attack. So we could put like the green fluorescent protein into various different organisms like mice and pigs and bunnies and flies. There's some ethical issues that come with genetic engineering. We should either be doing this because we can enhance the good qualities and get rid of the bad. We can pick the qualities that we want, and we can create genetically identical organisms so that we can study that particular gene very effectively. But those artificial genes may affect the ecology, and the consumers are not always aware of what kinds of pieces are involved with that. And then there's always a matter of how far of a change is too far of a change.